have again come up with something new today, and that's panel discussion for executive assistants. Now, there is no other reason why we shouldn't be bringing our best talent to the floor. And we got four of them, extremely talented and wonderful people. Now, they're going to talk about a topic that we don't generally discuss. How do you navigate yourself or react or respond in challenging situations or discussions with executives, with your bosses? This is really important that we address, and we try sharing and talking about it, and probably stimulate those intricate experiences that lie deep in your mind, through your experience. So we all have a collective learning and approach towards this topic. So I don't want to waste much of your time, and I'm going to welcome Malik, who's going to moderate the session today. And I really thank everybody who came and took time. The floor is all yours now. Thank you very much.
The sooner we accept and do the conversation, the better it gets. So I'd request you all to go into these difficult conversations with an open mind and acceptance. Good luck to all of you all.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, guys, for a wonderful intro and highlights about how to listen this session. Now we go next with our next panelist member, Mohit Chopra. Yes, Mohit bhai, all yours.
Thank you, Maulik. Hi, everyone. My name is Mohit. I hold about 10 plus years of experience as an executive assistant and 15 years in total working in diverse industries, which are alcohol manufacturing, real estate, banking, finance, pharma, and recycling as my also key area of interest, and have held positions like deputy manager, assistant manager, executive assistant with various chairmen, director, division director, CFOs, CEO of the company, managing director of the company, and have helped them in key strategic initiatives and all the upper level management work. And apart from this, I hold key interest in being an environmentalist, doing social activities, and also I'm pouring my same interest and expertise into the EA domain itself for the future.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Mohit bhai, for your introduction. Now I invite our third panelist of the session, Pratibha. Yes, Pratibha, over to you.
Thank you, Maulik. Hello, everyone. Very good afternoon. Myself, Pratibha Achutana. I have around 25 plus years of experience in as an executive assistant, and also a few years in project management and as a program manager. And with my experience today, I would like to talk about like how do you seek request or support from your manager, or it can be your peer or subordinates. For all of us, having a good manager is a blessing. I think everybody agree to it. Even the best employees need support from their manager at times. So don't be intimidated by asking for help, and getting support at work is advocating for your needs to get into success mode. And when you should ask for help, when you're not sure of what you're doing, or when you made a mistake, or when you're overwhelmed with your work. And then be mindful with whom you ask and what you ask for. And then show gratitude to whomever is helping. That's the most important punch point for this. And thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Pratibha. And I also want to ask for your help from our EAF family to please turn on your videos. I'll be keep asking for this support throughout this session, so don't mind. Okay, so our fourth and not the least member of this panel, very enthusiastic. Please, Smruti Deepak. Yes,
Hello,
Smruti, over
everyone.
to you.
Thank you, Maulik. Hello, everyone. I am EA. I have experience of executive assistant for my past 5 years. And before that, I was an administrative assistant. So I have total 10 years of experience. And in the beginning of my career, I had to deal with difficult bosses, and I had to get my way around them to get things done, and help my other colleagues to give a better performance. So I feel that I can enlighten, or I can just give you a few suggestions or solutions on how to deal with a difficult boss or difficult persons around. Thank you.
Yeah, that was wonderful. Thank you, Smruti, for sharing. So now, your excitement levels are going very much high, and now we are opening our entire EAF action, and we'll be throwing some questions to our panel member and really make this conversation bi-directional so that we can have a maximum perception around it. So our first topic for this panel members goes around when you make some mistakes or blunders, how will you confront those with your boss? So that's fall into the another aspect, that how will you manage that difficult conversation with your boss when you make some blunders or mistake. So I would like to invite Kaizin to answer this query. Yes, Kaizin.
Thank you, Malik, for that question. So, mistakes and blunders are something that happen by the best of us. People who are even at the peak of their careers can end up making mistakes. Now, the consequence of the mistake or blunder, depending on what is the severity, is not something that you can save yourself from. You will have to face it. So, this conversation is about going up to your boss and accepting it and then taking the next steps. But be prepared depending on the severity of the mistake, that there could be some consequences. Now, mistakes can be of two types. One, which can be rectified. If you have made a mistake which you think you can rectify, my suggestion is take the rectification steps, and after that, still go and have an honest conversation with your boss. You can say that this was the situation and this is how I rectified it. Because if you hide your mistakes or blunders, they are going to come back. If the mistake is something that cannot be rectified and you are really scared to go up to your boss, first, number one is you have to calm down. You have to take responsibility for the mistake. Number two, what next? Now it is already done. So do not sit and cry about it. And very important, do not go and speak about this to somebody who does not require to know it, because that can be backstabbing sometime in the future if you have a conflict. So when you make a mistake, we tend to react and get scared and talk to different people. Oh my God, I've done this. Don't do that. Respond to it rather than reacting. Make a plan of the future. Okay, this was the mistake. What are you going to do now so that you don't repeat it? And go and tell your boss honestly about it. It's very, very important. Number three is you have to be careful that you cannot take mistakes very lightly and never give excuses for your mistake. Take responsibility. Because when you take responsibility, you will take the correct action the next time. I hope this helps. And
yeah, great. So that's wonderful sharing from Kaizen, that not to respond and rather react, and confronting with the right person, not to gossip. So thank you, Kaizen, for this wonderful perspective around confronting blunders as well as mistakes. And we have also confronted that blunders and mistakes both are different. So thank you once again. Thank you. So now, once you have made some blunder or mistake, now it's time to re-establish that lost trust, right? Because when you make some mistakes, when you make some blunders, it is high chances that you lost some trust from your boss or reporting manager. So how will you re-establish your trust? Let me invite Pratibha to answer this query. Yes, Pratibha, over to you.
Yeah. So bosses will lose trust when they micromanage us, and how we should respond to it is like we should go directly and ask, what can we do better? As direct as we can without getting into a serious note. And then we need to understand what is our manager's perspective. And while talking to him, we have to be always be positive, candid, and specific to the point, because they will not have much time to understand what is running in our mind. And finally, we have to tell, we have to give feedback as how it is impacting us in terms of our professional work. And then we'll have to drill down to the root cause, and whenever we are talking, we have to make it a point with a smile on our face, not with a rude face or something. That way we can win back the trust, and trust can be earned. So we shouldn't be in a hurry to get the trust back.
But we open the forum for more questions.
Yeah.
The people are holding their nerves. So uh, let me ask Vandana, like, what if your boss asks you to work after 10 o'clock in evening?
Okay, okay. Thank you, Malik. Yeah, I have never ever faced this kind of situation, let me tell you, in all my careers. This session is handling difficult situations, and all my bosses and all my peers have been wonderful. So, if there is a session which says when things are wonderful, I'll be able to share better. But yes, let me share my opinion on your question. See, there are two things. If something is very urgent and important and it cannot be like brushed aside, it needs immediate attention, then of course this comes under emergent situation, and that needs the response, which where you cannot have look at the watch. So yeah, at that time you have to like pitch in to like troubleshoot or help in. But at some times some bosses may have this habit of always coming up with things that are not that important but at a very different time, asking you to do something at a very time which things can be done in some other way or some other day. So I suppose once when you are not prepared, you can go with it, but you need to have a frank talk with him the next day and tell him, you have to draw your boundaries, and very subtly you need to tell him that I am available, but if the things really demand that kind of time and attention, or else I will be able to take it up immediately next. I think
Correct.
that should help, because setting boundaries for ourselves is very important. Nobody else is going to do that for you.
Thank you. Thank you. So, moving around that topic only, right? What if your boss asks you to work something which you don't like? What if your boss asks you to, work overtime, do some overtime? So, those are unworkabilities. And sometimes being an EA, we can't resist. So, let me invite Mohit Bhai to answer this query. How to handle unworkabilities with your boss? Yes, Mohit
Hi,
Bhai, over to you.
hi. Thank you, Maulik. Thank you for the same. Uh, it is very important for EA or for any individual working in an organization to be the most productive and efficient. But when it comes to uncomfortability or unworkable patterns around the bosses, it really decreases the efficiency or really decreases our enthu. And if there is anything concerning you or bothering you about the boss or a style of working, I think the best way is to express the discontent, have a cup of coffee, keep a meeting with him when he's in a good mood, write it, have go well planned, well prepared, write it in advance what you will be discussing in bullet points, express him very politely, humbly, with calm approach. And as per my experience, I've always felt that it really worked. And for somebody else to empathize with you at that situation. And another beautiful technique which works well is the RB technique, which everyone can do right from the beginning whenever or somebody joins the organization, is the relationship building technique. We really need to have a good bond or relationship with the boss, so that in odd situations like this, or which is unworkable patterns or anything, or if we have some demand, or we need some flexibility, he needs to empathize, and he will empathize because we have a good relationship with him. So, relationship building is another beautiful technique that really works well. And right from the beginning, we all should practice it rather than being very introvert and getting just into the work. We should really socialize or really have a good relation or bond with the bosses. That really works, as per my experience.
Great. Thank you, Mohit Bhai, for sharing such a wonderful insight. Now, we have performed well. We have been given KRAs and KPIs, but I don't know whether I'm doing it right or wrong. I don't know in which direction my career is heading. So what I need to do, I need to gain some genuine feedback. Yes. So how you can gain some genuine feedback related to your work from your boss? Let me invite once again Kazin to handle this part. Yes, Kazin.
Thank you, Maulik, once again for the question. This is a very interesting and a very important question because feedback is something that helps us all grow. Wouldn't you all like feedback, and wouldn't you all like to know how you all are doing? But what steps do you all take when you all want feedback? Feedback, according to me, is of two types: formal and informal. Informal feedback is also very important with our day-to-day conversations. If you start reading in between the lines, like Mohit said, if you have a good relationship with your boss, you will understand in between the lines the feedback that you get. If you're given just you did that very well, or your part in this client relationship was very good, those are also feedbacks. So listen between the lines and keep a note of those points. That's informal feedback. For formal feedback, you have to, number one, slot yourself regularly in your boss's calendars. How many of us do that? We are in charge of the calendar, but do we give ourselves priority? Most EAs don't. They think, yes, Malik, you were saying
No,
something?
I do that.
Okay. But many EAs feel like, what will I talk? Boss will wonder, why does she want time for herself or himself? And, we don't put ourselves on the calendar. So after today, if you all want feedback, the first thing is to put it in regular slots. Second thing is go with open-ended questions for this feedback meeting. Go with questions that doesn't answer in a yes or no. One very good question is you can ask is, would you like to mentor me? Bosses love when you put them on that pedestal. Ask them, would you like to mentor me? And tell them that how his or her mentorship is going to help you and how you are going to contribute to the overall growth of the organization. So the boss is not giving feedback to you. The boss is giving feedback to the growth of the organization. When you work from that frequency, the bosses will look forward to giving feedback to you. Hope this helps.
Yes, great. Very simple language yet very effective. So that was wonderful sharing from Kaizen, and always pleasure to hear her. She did
Thank
one
you,
training,
Mohan.
and that was also amazing one. And today is also we are so fortunate that we are having this kind of member in our EF action group, and all thanks to Ratna also.
My pleasure.
Building
Thank
it
you.
from scratch and creating some partnership with all the ES. Now we have touched that feedback thing, that how we can get some genuine feedback. Now as an EA, when we work with multiple departments, right, there are many things we are identifying: someone doing their job very honestly, and some people doing some inauthenticity around, right? So that won't work, and this is very delicate topic to touch. It is very important to understand that how you can share those inauthenticity of other department that could create a breakdown in future. So let me invite Smruti Deepak to answer this question. Yes, Smruti, all yours.
Hello. Hi, everyone. I feel that as an EA, we have kind of macro view of the whole organization, that we know how the departments are work internally and how they are working together and how they are managing to get things done. So sometimes certain things we notice that maybe it is not noticeable to our bosses. So I'm addressing the topic of tough conversation we have with our bosses, which is about other departments. We are trying to share some information with him. At the same time, we are focusing on that we are not sharing any gossip to him. We are sharing the actual information. We have to be unbiased about any of our friends in the different departments or in different zonal levels. So we are supposed to be not given any side or not taking any side of the people we are friends with in that particular department. At the same time, we are addressing the real problem, even if it is caused by our friends or our dear ones. So we have to handle this situation very tactfully, very delicately, because we here we are talking about someone's career. We can make, or we can, if we give wrong information to our bosses, it can cause a really harm to their career. So what I would like to tell here is that how to address that. First, we have to address it in a one-to-one manner, where we and our boss are sitting together, and we should also look for is the moods and the environment surrounding us. We can't tell this information in very hectic during very hectic schedule, or when he is pissed off on someone. We have to check his manner, environment. Then we have to be solution based. We have to bring solution also along with that. And at the same time, we are supposed to tell him that he has to look at it in his own way. We are just telling him that this is a miss. I feel this is inauthenticate information that has been shared to you, and this could be the reality. And then you share certain kind of thing with him, because here I will like to point wise put it. But first, we have to look around the environment, in which environment we are sharing. We have to be unbiased. We have to share it in putting it as a solution base. We need to be very tactful. And then also when we are sharing concerns about other departments with him, we have to let him know to have his own opinion about it. He has to just we are just giving him a hint that this is a miss. We are not decision makers. We have to understand that, and we have to let it be in his control. Thank you, Malik.
Great, great, great. Thank you, Smruti, for sharing your insights around this topic, because it's the most difficult one. As in, it goes lot around. But when can you share? How can you share? Whom to share? It is most important thing, and that very accurately articulated by Smruti. So thank you, Smruti, once
And
again.
I would also
Yes.
like to add that there is very thin line, like we discussed before. There is a very thin line between gossiping and sharing transparent information. We have to always keep that in mind, that we are sharing an information that is for the growth of the
Organization.
organization. And also, I would like to mention, sometimes our boss may have a different perspective. So we also need to listen to him first, what his perspective is. Maybe he's already aware about the situation and how he is handling it, because that is also a learning we get from them, as they are more experienced than us. Thank you.
Thank you once again. And now comes the most important part that most EAs has dreamed in their life. When you join as an EA, and after a year, that's the time of appraisal and promotion, right? And start thinking that how should I put it in something that I can ask my boss that do my appraisal, and what are the pointers I should bring to him. So let me invite Mohit Bhai to answer how we can ask for an appraisal. Yes, Mohit Bhai.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Maulik, again. Appraisals are a very key part of one's success, and also key part for management of one's deliverables and contribution to the success of the organization. What is best strategy is to go very well planned and prepared. And one can really prepare a monthly report or a quarterly report, which is being summarized in one report with bullet points covering the key achievements, or something which you have done, gone out of the box, some key strategic initiatives, some projects taken, completed something, or any projects undertaken, or anything which is unseen and unheard by the management, which has a contribution of yours in terms of time, or you've gone out of the box, worked extended hours on weekends or leaves. You can all put it in bullet points, or you have played a vital role in increasing the efficiency of the leads, or maybe a team member, or a vice president, or somebody who's working on a project with the boss, where you hold a major contribution towards the success of that project, which I have also done in the past. So along with that, along with some rewards and recognitions which you have got, so you can all write it down in bullet points, along with the figure which can be justified with you, also which has to be negotiable. You all can go with those bullet points very well prepared, and you can place that in front of the management at the time of appraisal while seeking for appraisals, a good appraisals, I would rather say.
Great, great. Thank you. Thank you, Mohit bhai. This will really help most EAs to articulate their appraisal thing, right? So thank you once again. Now, when you do some office work, you have, few strength areas, you have few weakness. And when you have some weakness, you need to ask for support. Because without support of other members, you cannot elevate that aspect in your life. So how you can ask for support, right? So that's the one of the key area while you are, going in a fast track career and to improvise. So let me invite Pratibha once again to answer that queries that how EA can ask for support. Yes, Pratibha, over to you. You are on mute.
Okay. So asking for support to a boss is a very, very tricky thing because he might misunderstand you that you're not ready for it. But then we need to be prepared of what we are going to ask. As Kaizen mentioned that we need to schedule a call with the manager. And then figure out before going to him, we have to list out what all is that is bothering us and what is that we need support for. And instead of going with a blank question or just a questions, we also need to go with a solution like, okay, so and so person can support me, or so and so thing can provide a support, or get me out of this project which is bothering me, or it's way too overwhelming for me. So when you go with the solution to the boss along with the questions, he will definitely provide the support.
Okay, great. So that's how we ask for support. And that's
Yes.
how I also ask for support that please turn on your cameras. Okay. Great. So, these are some high level informations and these are some high level pointers which we have prepared as in with all the panel members. Most of the information will, get covered in these questions on a higher level. There would be some specific questions to some specific queries, and we'll be opening space for the same also. So let me ask if anyone of here wanted to ask something around that how we can handle some specific difficult conversation with our boss. So any questions anybody want to ask? Yes, Sudarsana has raised the hand. Sudarsana being very regular attendees. So thank you, Sudarsana, for that. And please give your question, throw your question.
If some HOD try to create a wrong image of you in front of your boss, then how to tackle that situation?
Okay. So panel member who would like to jump in, you can raise your hand. Great. So Kaizen has raised her hand. Yes, Kaizen, over to you.
So, thank you, Sudarshana, for asking that question. And as Ratna was saying, this is a very common, and this may have more than one solution or outcome, but I'm just sharing my perspective. So, the first thing is this is not something that can be solved in one conversation, according to me, because the most important thing is your relationship with your boss. Okay, it has to reach a level where you are his most trustworthy partner. It will take time. Sometimes it happens fast, sometimes it doesn't. So when it reaches that level, the confidence that the boss has in you is much more even than the HOD. Now, in this case, if, for example, your and your boss's relationship is new and the trust is not developed, and this situation arises, the first thing I think you should do is you should tell your boss his perspective. And there is a method called the sandwich method. I don't know if you all have heard of that. So which starts with something that you appreciate in that conversation. So you can tell your boss that, if he's confronting you, he or she, that yes, I appreciate you for telling me this because otherwise I wouldn't have known. So it is a service that the boss is doing to you. Second point is go with an open mind. So tell your boss that this is pointed out. Thank you for pointing it out. Let me evaluate this. Do not immediately jump into saying, no, you are wrong or he's wrong. The minute we tell our bosses or HODs that they are wrong, they get defensive. They may be wrong. Yes, you may know it. But the way you put it across is very important. The minute you say, no, you are wrong, that person is wrong, I didn't do it, you've lost half your battle there. So you say that, okay, I've heard your part of the conversation. Let me evaluate. Let me come back to you. That's with the boss. Then you go to the other person who's the HOD or whatever. Try and resolve. See what best can be done. So this way, you improve your relationship 3 ways. I mean, that's my perspective. It may be harder and it may seem harder, but with little bit of tact and improving communication over a time, this will not happen something overnight. But if you stop saying that you are wrong, they will also turn around eventually. I hope that helps, Sudarshana.
Wow. Thank you, guys. And that was very spontaneous answer and very accurate from my perspective.
Thank you.
Yeah. So coming back to our session part. Now, when your boss asks you, you need to manage admin, you need to manage marketing communication, you need to manage some reporting structure with sales, you need to manage some sort of finance data, and your KRAs and KPIs keep changing. And they demand a lot and most things from the company to run. So how you can say no to those all the dynamic KRAs and KPIs, right? So that we discuss, because we have received this question from one of our group member. So let me invite Mohit bhai to answer this question. And yes, there is someone. Yeah, Mondira, we will also take your query later. This question, please.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi,
Yes, Mohit
thank,
bhai, over to you.
thank you, Maulik, again. So everybody faces this challenge as the role is highly dynamic and versatile many a times. I think the best approach is to keep a face-to-face meeting, go well prepared with points front of the lead when he's in good mood, and with a humble and polite approach, please share the unworkability or uncomfortable situation or uncomfortable KPIs or KRAs which you are not comfortable in performing or doing, because rather than doing it with not in a good state of mind is better than we say no right at the beginning. I have faced this in my past organization where we were being asked to take pictures all around the floor in events, which nobody else was doing, but I started doing and I felt very bad about it in terms of the higher leads. So I think it's good where in my case the others have denied right at the beginning that we'll not do because we are not a photographer. So being an executive assistant where you assist the executives and you play a vital role and you are a key role of the organization, companies paying you at hired you at a good cost. I think we should not go with something which we don't have a knowledge or we are not passionate about or we don't hold a deep interest into it. For example, I holded a deep interest being a hospitality personnel. So there was an external event happening in around the swimming pool area in Leela Hotel, which was our annual day, which happened in 8 parts. I holded interest and I gone out there and outperformed. Nobody was comfortable, but I did my beautiful part there, going into the detailing of music, everything. So if we hold interest or if we have knowledge or experience, we can demonstrate. I think we should go with that rather than just picking up things and then not able to perform and then our bosses judging our performance accordingly. I think we should say right no or express our discontent or disapproval towards doing these dynamic or expectations which are set out. That's what I believe is the right way.
Okay, great. Thank you, Mohit bhai, for answering this question. Taking on the next question, that is how to handle manager who micromanage and do not trust you, right? So again, very important question. Let me invite Kaizin to reply this question.
Thank you, Maulik. So, micromanaging is something that I've not had a boss current boss is not a micromanager, but in the past, I've had bosses who will give you a task and keep on asking, have you done it? Have you done it? Does it happen to all of you all? Who all does it happen to? I want your hands raised. Come on, let's have this little bit of more interaction. Raise your hands if it has happened to all of you all. Not happened to many of them. Okay. So, it is so irritating sometimes because anyways, you're in the middle of a lot of work. You are constantly getting calls, emails, and plus your boss is asking you every 5 minutes or 10 minutes, have you done this? Have you done this? So again, it boils down to one, the relationship with your boss. Second is when my boss gives me a project or a task, my question, what I do is after I've heard him, I respond to him saying, okay, so I am summarizing that you want me to do this, this, this. Can I ask you when you want this to be done? So upfront, I ask him, when do you want this to be done? Example, if he or she says, I want this in 2 days. So then I will tell him, okay, I will ask him, in this 2 days, is there anything else also that you want me to be done? And then I will give him my confidence that, sir, I will do this in 10 days. I will do this in 2 phases. I will update you on phase 1 tomorrow. I will update you on phase 2 day after. And his deadline was, imagine, 4 p.m. day after. I will try and finish it by 3 p.m. and update him instead of him asking me. So when I follow this process on a consistent basis, it will sink into him that, okay, I can trust this girl and he will not follow up with questions. And I hope that this helps.
Yes, absolutely. It will help. Thank you. Thanks for sharing. So let me take question from Mondira. Mondira, can you please share your question?
Sure. Hello, everyone. My question is that I had worked with my bosses always remotely, okay, and they're not in person. So I get urgent requirements, queries into my desk all the time. And I try to reach out to my boss, and he's busy, not answering my phone calls, not answering my messages. There are times when there are 2-3 days passes by and I still haven't heard from my boss. So in such situation, how do we get a resolution to the questions we have in our desk?
Okay, so who would like to jump in? Panelists. I think you got the question, right? Mohit, Smruti,
Can you simplify the question for me? Like, what exactly you're looking for?
Yes, Mondira, can you please put in a very simple language?
Sure.
Yeah.
So my boss is not in person, as in I don't face my boss every day. I work remotely. So I try to, if I have any question that maybe somebody, some HOD had reached out to me, asked a question of how to do this thing, right? So for that, or maybe an approval that I need, that he needs from my boss, I'll call him, ask him. He's not responding to emails, so I'll call him. I send him messages asking for approval. I don't get a response. I have to wait. I wait the entire day, next day, third day, maybe third day, I will get a response from him. So how to overcome such a situation, how to chase your boss when he's not in front of you?
Okay, I also deal with such kind of situation that I am assisting two bosses remotely. So what I do is I have found a way. See, we can enlist whatever daily requests that we have, like daily approvals that we get. If there are minors and if we can evaluate and approve it, then we have a discussion with our boss one-to-one, saying that if this is, you set a limit for me, until below this limit I can approve things, and if there is it goes up for an upper limit or above this all this categorized things, then you let me know when to connect you and get the approval. That is the one way we can do it. Or secondly, we can ask him, we can, having conversation always help with our bosses. And I feel like Kaizen mentioned before that we have to have a slot with him. I used to prefer having slot with him early in the morning, so I can give him updates of the yesterday, and I can tell him what is he should be expecting in throughout the day and the next day. So that way we could discuss on few things that happened wrong or that went wrong before, and where I got stuck. So that way we can ask him that set a categories or set a evaluation method for us to approve it until this point, and post that, or let us know when we can reach you. We can set a time also. We can set a time of okay, every day 9 a.m. we both will have call and we will say we will discuss all these things and we will get this approvals. Accordingly, I can inform the teams who needs approval or anything that needs to be connected. If it is one-to-one and your boss is comfortable with WhatsApp, I usually ping him whenever he has time. He check it and he reverts back. So by discussing with your boss, we can set a methods or whatever works for both of us. I guess that helps your question, or we can move on. Somebody else can also add into this. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Smriti.
Thank you.
I
Thank you,
can
Smriti. Very nicely articulated. Yes, Mohit bhai, you wanted to add something?
very beautifully jotted down the strategy points by Smriti. Just a small thing to add. What I used to do is, apart from what Smriti has said, I was also practicing the same thing, but I used to keep reminders in my calendar, and on and off doing the reminders, keeping myself aloof from that chasers, and the other time being utilized in my own things, rather than just being worrying about chasing and getting approvals and getting worried about it, where my whole energy is going into that, making myself disturbed, rather than this, keeping myself busy and occupied in the other activities, and keeping a set reminder twice or thrice in the day, probably one in late in the night if bosses say, and to have a clear expectation, so that it doesn't gets or your performance is not judged basis that work is not done, the end result is not achieved, whereas you have done multiple attempts reminding him, and if the work has suffered because of the boss hasn't approved, it should not come back to us. So if this thing is a very consistent going on, I think we really need to talk to the boss and come to a conclusion that yes, what is the strategy we will follow in such scenarios, because it is happening on and off, rather than just keeping it the way we are doing, and at the end, or maybe 2 months or 3 months, it becomes a um, performance issues on our part.
Can I add something over here? It also seems that whenever you sit down with him, Mandira, try and understand what are his top priorities and relate your question somehow to his priorities. Because many times, because of difference of priorities that an EA and a boss has, there is a conflict. So, whatever is, try to find out whatever is his. For some people, attending meetings on time is a priority. Like one of my boss, he never goes late to a meeting. Never, ever. I've never seen him go late to a single meeting. It's so important for him, but it's not important to the other boss. So it's very important to judge, and then you make that your question, see how it affects that priority. You have to do a little background work for this. But the minute he understands that the updates he needs to give you is affecting his priorities, he will come back to you.
Yeah, I think I'll do that. Thank you.
Welcome. Yeah.
Great. Thank you. Yes, Meenakshi, you wanted to add something?
Yes, even I had faced such problems in my current organization, and I figured out that why doesn't he respond? So I had a one-on-one discussion with him, and I understood that he wanted certain more details about whatever approvals he's giving. So one day I sat with him, I understood what are his requirements, how he wants things to work, and now things are very easy. Like I'm giving him what is required. So this I understood after a week or so, that he had certain point of view of looking at approvals. So this really helped on the discussion part.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Meenakshi, for your insight. Share the next question that we have received from our group, that when manager points out your mistake or humiliates in public, even though it is a small correction needed in minutes, he'll copy the entire team and give the corrections. How to handle such situation or self, and what should we do that we don't lose our mental balance, self-esteem, and confidence? Right. So this is the question, guys. Right. Let me invite Pratibha to reply on this question. Yes, Pratibha. You are on mute again, Pratibha.
This humiliation again goes back to that remote working which Mondira has mentioned, because I also work with 3 remote bosses, and it can be by way of their words, or it can be by not responding to us. That is also a humiliation to us. So what we have to do is, when we get a hold of his time later, I mean, first we have to jot down what are all these situations where we got humiliated, and never respond when we are in a very bad mood, or when we are in an angry mood or a frustrated mood. So jot down those points, fix up a time with him after a day or two, and then talk to him saying that, like, this is what has bothered me, or where did I go wrong. We need to have an open out conversation, and at the same time we need to be open for the feedback. It can be a constructive feedback, or it can be a positive feedback. So and then there is one more technique. Whenever we are not ready for any conversation in terms of humiliation, we just can say, I need some more time to get back to you. That way we will have some time to get prepared, because in anger we might use words which are not good for us. At the end of it, boss is always right. We need to remember that.
Great. Boss is always right, and so is Pratibha. Thank you. Thank you for sharing these insights. Okay, so now we have question, and here's some catch, because I'll mute all the panel member and I'll ask from the audience that someone from the audience answer this question. So let me share this question, and of course, after somebody is answering to this question, at the end we'll ask for opinion from panel members also. But let's go in this way. So there's this question from Gomti. Most of the time, fixing meeting directly with GMs, or not sharing either subject of the meeting or data required for the meeting with ES, right? But when GM is coming in meeting with half-baked data, the meeting ends without any fruitful conversation, and it ends up in blaming the ES and telling unfit EA. So unable to understand in which way we are responsible for that. Even if we try to explain it, it won't work. So I would like to invite some person from audience, who can reply to this. So let me scan some faces. Tathir, can you hear us?
Okay, first of all, we EAs, I feel we are all tuned to certain things. The moment we take over this role, we get it's like it gets into our blood. It's our DNA now. Okay, the agendas and the invites and everything, whatever we do for our boss, their travel, their expenses, everything. So, and we are of course human, so human mistakes do happen. But to answer Gomati's question, I personally feel that I would never go to any boss for that matter with half baked information, because leaders need certain. I mean, first of all, we need to have the understanding of our bosses. Only then we can reach out to them with what they want. So it's always that we have to think ahead of our bosses. So if when we know that he's going for a particular meeting, what are the details he will need for the meeting, be it the agenda, the audience details. Because if we are the ones who have called on behalf of boss, if we have sent the invite to a set of audience, then we know who is coming. So whether it is a board meeting or if just a meeting with his one-to-ones, with his one-downs on a one-to-one basis, or a skip level meeting, or a new joiner meeting, or a pillars meet, or whatever the meeting is. So when you have sent the invite and you know who the audience is, so you will know what your boss is up to in that meeting. What is his expectation, what he wants to talk and what he wants to hear it. So like if I am going to schedule a meeting, for example, a new joiner meeting for that matter, and I'm sending an invite to, say 300 new joiners over a quarter. So I will set the expectation beforehand when I'm sending the invite. I will say, guys, this person is the president of the company. You have just joined and he would like to, meet you, whether it is in person or virtual at so and so time and so date. He will take you through this. And you can come prepared with your own questions so that it will be your two-way effort. Because if my boss runs a PPT for a new joiner, it shouldn't be that only he talks. So we also want new joiners to talk, and the freshers now who join us, whether they are freshers or they're coming from other organizations, they also have much more knowledge to share. And this is what was my learning in the new joiners meet, to be frank, because my boss told me to jot down those points and give those points to his one-downs, his SVPs to work on. Because that just because I'm the president of the company or I'm the vice president doesn't mean that I know everything. So the juniors who come, or the people who have worked in other companies who join us, they want to share their best practices. So we should listen. A leader should first of all listen.
So when we are going for any particular meeting, depending on the subject of the meeting, the audience of the meeting, we have to be well prepared in advance, with the agenda, with the talking points for our bosses. I mean, that is how any boss expects it to be. So we make half the work easy for them, keep giving them the PPT, giving them the agenda points. It's only for them to talk on those points, and that they do it easily because it's just not that first time they're going to do, right? So they do it very easily. And if it's a board meeting, then it's all the more important because they're all very senior board members, and every board member will have an EA and they will all come equally prepared. So if my preparation is not as good as the other board members' preparation, then it shows how weak an EA I am. So I need to be at par with the other EAs. So if I can work together with those EAs, it becomes all the more easier for me. I'm talking about myself from my organization perspective. If anybody has a different perspective, feel free to share, please.
Yes,
And
thank
Gomti, I
you.
hope I've been able to share, my concern.
Yes, of course, you did. So
Thank you,
let me
Maulik. Thank you.
thank you. So let me invite other person who
Maulik,
can answer this. Yes, Vanda.
Molly, can I add?
Yeah, sure, of course.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you, Tatir, for wonderfully explaining it. I would just like to add, because in my experience of what I have been doing is, when I'm in charge of certain meetings and I know certain pattern of the people who are attending the meeting. Suppose my boss, as Gomti said, he comes half prepared, and then at the end of the meeting, it is like the EA has not done the work, so no constructive decision could be reached. If as per my experience, if I know certain people behave in a certain way and that is going to affect the whole meeting, then I take extra efforts before the meeting to ensure the person does not, comes more prepared. Give him, leading questions. This is what is needed in the meeting from your side. This is what is expected. So it's just like a soft reminder to them to know, so that they can catch up and come better prepared. So that is what I think we can do from our side to make the meetings more fruitful.
Great, thank you, Vandana, for jumping in and answering this question. So any question?
If you deal with bosses who are I, myself, and me, like, they think there is nobody in power better than me. I know everything, and, they love to show it in your face that, you are beneath us in some way or the other. How do we deal with that?
Happened with me also quite a lot of time.
Let Sapna reply to this question. Sapna is raising her hand. Yes, Sapna.
So this happened with me long back, and I actually came out of that situation when my manager tells me that you are a secretary, तुम लोग तो ऐसे ही होते हो, पैसों के लिए तो कुछ भी करोगे. This statement to me was, this is not me. So I actually told him, look at this. This is five fingers. None of this is equal. None of it is same. This happened because at one point of time, there was one assistant in VSNL who had taken a bribe and had, leaked some information. So my boss comes to me and he tells me, look, this has happened and tum to sab ek tarah jaise hote ho. So I said, no, this is not that way. Apparently, I faced a lot of trouble with that boss because he used to think of me as somebody who's much below him, has got no authority, has got no respect. Is working because of the sake of working, not because I have got some talents or because I can really add some value. I in fact even had a very strange incident where he flung a book on me. I of course took it up. I took it up with the HR. One particular incident, he belittled me in front of investors. Just for me coming up 2 minutes late. In the office. So of course I did take up with the HR, and because he was quite senior, they were not able to do anything much. They did tell him, that this kind of situation, and he should not put me in this type of situations. And for some time, his behavior towards me got a little bit better, but again, after about 15 or 20 days, he was back to his old self. So of course I took my cue from that, and I just came out of the organization.
Thank you, Sapna, for really pointing out and jumping into this conversation, and you being a very loyal attendees for today, because you kept your video on throughout the session. So thank you once again for that part. Yes, Smruti, you wanted to add something.
Hello. I would like to address this issue that there are not just bosses, there are some HODs and other people also who will tell you that, they try to show you that we are something that, we know the best. So I have found a diplomatic trick. It is because when you go straight head-ons with them, they try to prove you wrong more, or they try to bully you more. They know that you are the threat to their I am so perfect notion, and then they will try to create problems for you. As I was being the youngest one and I couldn't go headstrong with them, I started these are the people who like their ego to be nurtured. So sometimes when they tell you that I'm so great in this, so sometimes when you try to know a person, I would say the best way to deal with any person is you try to know them first, you try to observe them first, you try to know their nicks and knacks, so then you can be diplomatic with that. So one thing you can do, what I prefer to do is I try to know the person, and I try to know what thing that they cannot do. They can just speak, okay, I can do this great. So then by any mean you can give them, you are so great in this, please help me out in this and everything. You just go to them, or you just tell them, or you should give them the hardest stuff that that they can do, or that they will need your help, or they will need someone else to assist them. You can do this, or you can do is just whenever they say that we are great, you just tell them, yes, we know you are great, thank you. You just nurture their ego and just let them be, because at the bottom of the line that what you do and who matters to you, and how to do your work, and with you not doing your work, how it will disturb their entire day if it is your direct reporting person. Thankfully I didn't get anyone whom I was reporting had this kind of notion that I am the greatest. They were always good with learning new or have a conversation. But yeah, I dealt with certain kind of people who are other people in the organization who have this aura that I'm great, I can do this, I can do that. They will have just long talks, and they in the fact do nothing. So they just try to create an image, build an image, and try to nurture it. That's it. So if they see that if you're pointing out their image, you're breaking their image, they'll try to first thing to cover it and try to put the blame on you. So handle it diplomatically. That's what my opinion is, or that's what my suggestion is. Thank you.
Great explanation, Smruti. Thank you once again. So yes, people, any other question, please feel free to ask. फिर कल से ये पैनल वाले लोग मिलेंगे नहीं आपको, वो गायब हो जाएंगे. So please ask here. Anyone, any questions, any queries? Okay, I guess there are no more questions left, or people don't want to ask, or we have replied all panel members. We have done a very fantastic job, and we have performed efficiently such that none questions were left. Okay, let me pick someone to share their experience. So Preeti Tuteja, are you here? Can you hear us? Preeti, are you here? Suruchi Malik, are you here? Can you hear us?
Yes.
Hi, Suruchi. Thank you.
Hi.
Can you share your latest experience of handling some difficult conversation with your boss?
So I faced the same thing which one of our participants just mentioned, that non-availability of boss. Actually, in many instances, what happened when I need to ask certain urgent thing, right? And boss is unavailable, not replying to WhatsApp, not replying to call, not replying to email, and decision has to be taken on the toes at that point of time. It's actually very challenging. especially if it involves cost.
Correct.
Right. So, for instance, in one of the yesterday only I saw there was one flight which was going to Bombay and having only one seat left. At that time, it was very, and she wanted to have. There was a timing challenges as well. So in that case, it was very important for us to, be on the same page and do the action fast. But it didn't work out the same way. But yeah, this is a latest situation which I faced.
Thank
So
you.
what
Thank you.
I in that case what I did, I met her, after having, she was on her own. My boss was on her own for 2 hours, and then I saw a time slot. I kept visiting her, cabin, and I saw that she's open for some discussion for 2 to 5 minutes, and I, uh, sat with her and shared my opinion that this is a situation, and if we will do, I will not get response, so company can cost this much, and we might lose one seat, and then there is only one seat left. So what can we do about it? How can we take care of these kind of situation? So then we finalized that 10:30 we are going to meet every day. Yeah, for 15 minutes. So that really morning every day and evening around 5ish, I'll be mentioning all the things which I have done and which are very important on WhatsApp. So morning time, 15 minutes, quick catch up face to face, and evening time, quick, response that what the things I have done, so that all these things will be documented. I mean, this is a smart move which I suggested. If we are going to WhatsApp on a daily basis, or in a 1 or 2 days time, it is going to give us a very good data during the time of performance appraisal as well. These data can be a reference point. So that's how I fix up the situation. Yeah.
Great sharing, Suruchi. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Yes, Vijay Lakshmi has raised her hand. Yes. Please ask.
Hi, everyone. First of all, a great session. And take everything on our head. We do our jobs, but then we think, this has to be done. This is our job, and what boss will say. So I think a mantra that I've set for myself is I do my homework, and if my boss is not responding, like the case that Suruchi told me, and then he comes back to me, oh, you didn't do this, Vijay, and I'm like, see, I have WhatsApped you, and I have emailed you, I have sent you a Teams chat, and you are not coming back to me. I think, even you hold responsible for this particular thing if that has not happened. So I think that is important. They have to be partner in crime. So we can't just take everything on our head. Otherwise, it is going to be very difficult for us. So it's important that we give this message to them.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Vijay Lakshmi, for sharing your pie. Now, guys, this is some time for acknowledgement. An acknowledgement to who? Acknowledgement to our wonderful, enthusiastic, and hardworking panelist member. So let me acknowledge each one panel member: Kaizin, Mohit Bhai, Pratibha, and Smruti, with a huge round of clap. Huge acknowledgement to all the panel members, to be here, to support us, to help us. It wouldn't be possible without them. And of course, I would like to mention the name of Crystal. She left just, but she did wonderful job in, all the coordination and all the entire stuff, so managing all that part, meeting invites and all that stuff. So thank you once again, all the panel member, Crystal, and of course, our own man, Ratna, because of whom we are doing all this stuff. So thank you, guys. Thank you once again.
Thank you, Maulik. Big thanks to you also.
Yeah, thanks.
You have been a wonderful moderator, Maulik. Thank you. We really enjoyed this session. Thank you so much.
That's a really power-packed discussion, and I didn't expect that it went over my expectations, and I'm sure it's the same with you as well. Now, we are hoping to have more discussions in the future, and we're going to have more people as well from the 820 people that we have at this point of time. And thank you very much, guys. Thank you so much. EAF Action Community Learning, we are stronger together. Thank you.